When you think of Jiri Prochazka, you think of two things: explosive violence and this unshakable warrior code. He thrives in pure chaos. But at UFC 320, he was losing, and I mean losing badly. Then, in one single round, it all changed. So today, we're not just going to recap a fight. We are going to deconstruct one of the most unbelievable comebacks of the year to figure out how in the world did he pull that off. All right, let's get into it.
You know, I saw this fan comment, and it just hits the nail on the head. It perfectly captures what it's like to watch a Jiri Prochazka fight. It's this wild roller coaster where you're constantly bouncing between sheer panic and just total exhilaration. And believe me, his clash with Khalil Rountree Jr. was the perfect example of why.
So the scene is the T-Mobile Arena in Las Vegas. You've got the former champ, Procházka, trying to claw his way back to the top, and then you've got Khalil Rountree Jr. fighting in his hometown, trying to prove he belongs with the absolute best in the world. I mean, the stakes just could not have been higher.
Okay, let's just take a quick peek at the numbers. Right away, you see Procházka has the size and reach advantage. No question. But look closer. See that stance difference? Procházka fighting orthodox, Rountree is a southpaw. That little detail? It would turn out to be a massive factor in how those early rounds played out.
And this, right here, this is the heart of the story. On one side, you have Procházka, the absolute master of chaos. A guy who is totally fine with eating, get this, almost 6 significant strikes every minute just to create an opening. Then on the other side, you've got Rountree, cool, composed, and a powerful counter-striker with a left hand that can turn your lights out. It was your classic bull versus matador setup.
So looking at those styles, you'd think, okay, this is going to be an explosion from the opening bell. But that's not what happened. Not at all. Instead, for 10 straight minutes, we watched Khalil Rountree put on an absolute clinic in technical striking.
You know how fights start out, right? A little bit of a feeling-out process. But in that first round, you could almost see the light bulb go off over Rountree's head. He solved the puzzle. He found his timing, he found his range, and from that moment on, he was in complete control.
And you can see just how perfectly he was executing his game plan. He kept loading up that big left hand, and it was finding a home almost every time Procházka tried to step in. He was tearing up the body to slow him down, and he punished Jiri's wildness, landing this absolutely crushing counter after a flying knee. By the time the bell rang, Procházka looked hurt. He really did.
So heading into the second round, the big question was, can Procházka make an adjustment? The answer was a pretty clear not yet. Rountree just picked up right where he left off with his methodical dismantling.
Rountree wasn't brawling with him, he was dissecting him like a surgeon. He used stop kicks to keep the distance perfect and just kept peppering him with that left hand. His timing was so sharp that every time Procházka tried to get something started, he got shut down immediately. Jiří even started slipping on the canvas. He just couldn't find his footing or any momentum at all.
So let's just take a breath here. After 2 full rounds, this fight was completely one-sided. The guy who's famous for creating chaos was totally neutralized. He honestly looked like he was out of ideas against a guy who was just perfectly composed. And this fan just says what we were all thinking. It really felt like the fight was slipping away from Jiří, if it wasn't already gone. It looked like we were just watching a wild brawler finally get figured out. But then came the third round.
Just look at that number, 2018. That's not a guess. That's what the scorecards almost certainly said. Rountree was up 2 rounds to nothing. He was just 5 minutes away from the biggest win of his entire career. For Procházka, it was simple. He needed a finish. No other way out.
And this is the moment. This is where the entire story of the fight just flips on its head. This is where we go from watching a technical beatdown to witnessing a legendary comeback.
So the billion-dollar question is, what actually changed? I mean, how does a fighter who looked totally out of it for 10 minutes suddenly find a way to win? Well, it wasn't magic. It came down to 3 specific strategic shifts. First, Jiří sensed it. He could feel that the insane pace and power Rountree was putting out had finally started to take a toll. Second, he stopped waiting and just started marching forward with relentless pressure. He gave Rountree 0 space to breathe. And third, he just let the monster out of the cage. He unleashed that signature chaos, the wild, unpredictable storm of strikes that Rountree had handled so well earlier, but couldn't handle anymore.
And with that change in strategy, the fight finally turned into the all-out brawl everyone was expecting from the beginning. And, well, in a chaotic war of attrition, there's only one king.
I mean, this tweet pretty much says it all, right? That all-caps energy is exactly how it felt.
The suddenness, the shock, the absolute thrill of that turnaround was just incredible. Rountree was trying so hard to hang on, just trying to survive to the final bell, but Procházka was a man on a mission.
And then bam, it happened. With Rountree backing up, Procházka landed a perfect clean 1-2 combination. The left hand landed flush, and it was lights out. It was this beautiful technical finish that felt almost out of place in the middle of all that chaos.
3 minutes and 4 seconds. Rountree was less than 2 minutes away from victory. Can you believe that? But in the most spectacular fashion possible, Procházka found the finish when he absolutely had to.
And of course, the fight was immediately recognized for what it was, an instant classic. It easily won Fight of the Night, and Procházka naturally picked up an extra Performance of the Night bonus for that incredible heart and that amazing finish.
Okay, so after a war like that, the dust settles. Where do these two warriors go from here? As you can imagine, a fight like this sends their careers down two very, very different paths.
For Procházka, he's immediately right back in the title conversation. He said it himself. He felt like he needed to go through the blood to find a way to win. And for Rountree, it was just heartbreak. He knew how close he was, but he promised to heal, learn, and come back stronger in 2026. Just a really classy and resilient response to a loss that would have broken a lot of other fighters.
And all of this leaves us with one final fascinating question. Jiri Prochazka's ability to pull a victory out of thin air is undeniable, but his willingness to walk through fire and absorb so much damage makes every single one of his fights a complete high-wire act. So is he the biggest threat to the title, or is his chaotic style an unsustainable risk that's bound to catch up with him? The truth is, it's probably somewhere in the middle, and that's exactly why he's one of the most must-see fighters on the entire planet.